Frankie Montas is headed to the injured list before the season even starts. And now Pete Alonso is back with the Mets. We've got some updates with some of his first arrival at camp. Got a couple articles that we're going to go over. And what does the Frankie Montas injury say, or what does that tell us about what the Mets need to do going into the season here? Is our pitching depth going to be enough to hold up? Is this going to encourage the Mets to push maybe a little harder or maybe give up a little bit more for a front end starter? I know there are a lot of you thinking that the Mets were needing another number one or number two starter, and now that one of our depth pieces is going to be out for a while, what is going to be the conclusion that we have after this? Welcome to MetropoliFins. We are YouTube's smallest New York Mets and Miami Dolphins channel, and we're going to be covering everything New York Mets today. So super excited to do this. So we're got a couple different articles. We're going to share them with you here so you can read along with me. I'm not going to read the whole article. The first from MLB.com. So I'm just going to do, we'll read this one from the beginning. This winter, the Mets constructed their pitching staff upon a foundation of depth. Rather than target the best starters available, the Mets acquired multiple lesser options, hoping to guard against attrition and injury. And lo and behold, we're already dealing with the injury bug. They entered camp feeling comfortable about the interchangeability of their top 8 starters. That depth is being tested immediately. Manager Carlos Mendoza announced Monday that right-hander Frankie Montas has a high-grade right lat strain and will not throw for 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, so you're hearing that he's out for 6 to 8 weeks, but this article says he is not going to even throw for 6 to 8 weeks. Montas will require a full spring training style buildup after that, meaning that a best case scenario would have him back in mid-May. More realistically, he is likely to remain sidelined until late May or June. So he's completely shut down. Montas completely shut down for 6 to 8 weeks. And then he's got to warm up, get everything going for another 2, 3, 4 weeks after that. So you're talking very much the possibility of Montas not actually being in a major league game for the Mets until June. We've been talking about the whole off season. We know that in order for us to get through 162 plus, we're going to need 8 to 10 guys, Mendoza said. Here we are. It's nothing new for us. Guys will step up. Guys will get opportunities. We feel good with the options that we have. Now, Mendoza has to say that, but do you think on a core level that that's exactly of the New York Mets? You can't say we're in panic mode, but let me just ask you behind the scenes, and you as a fan, are you in panic mode? Does this feel, because we already don't know where Senga is. Like, yes, we know he's pitching and he looks good, but we're not really sure there. The back end of the rotation has a lot of question marks. Now, if you're like me and you're a big Tyler McGill fan and you really want to see him put it together, then maybe gives him a little more chance. We're going to get into this here. I'm not going to go over all the details of the injury and all the contract stuff, but let me just jump to this. For now, Montas's injury changes little in terms of the Mets pitching strategy. They still intend to use a 6-man rotation more often than not, viewing it as a way to keep Kodai Senga healthy. Senga, Sean Manaea, Clay Holmes, and David Peterson will occupy 4 of those rotation spots. Okay, so that was pretty much no different. And then the idea was Montas, Blackburn, Griffin Canning, and Tyler McGill to complete the remaining 2. But now let me ask you, though, as 5 and 6 starters, would you really be happy with Paul Blackburn and Griffin Canning as your 5 and your 6? McGill has an accessible minor league option, which could hurt his chances. But there would be potentially room for all 3 on the roster if the team decides to piggyback starters earlier in the season. So I'm not really sure about this, but the idea of going from having 4 guys fighting for 2 spots, now 3 guys fighting for 2 spots, the depth is being tested here right away. And again, we just got to be realistic here that you're talking that you've got to make this work now. It's not like it's just a week or 2 weeks. You're talking 2 months. 2 months, and I don't know. It's hard to say. So just skipping down just a little bit more, we've got options. Mendoza said we've got depth. Still too early. Still too early for what, though? What does this mean, right? I'm highlighting this here. It's still too early to panic. It's still too early. No, I don't think so. I think that the Mets are going to continue shopping for a front-end starter, and I do think that with the way things are, the Mets do not want to have a similar start to this season like they did last season. And sure, you have your offense that can carry you, but do you really want to have to go out and score 8 to 10 runs every single night because you're rolling out 5 and 6 starters that you don't really fully trust? So I don't know. Let's see. And of course, we're going to have to see what happens. And this article makes a key point at the very end. The Mets must complete spring training without further injuries. For their depth, they lack certainty in the rotation. Senga made just one start last year due to injury. Peterson missed the first 2 months and spent October pitching in relief. Holmes is converting from the bullpen to rotation. Blackburn missed the end of last year to a spinal leak. Canning produced a 5.19 ERA and was non-tendered by the Angels. McGill has been inconsistent. I don't know. I think that this puts the Mets in a difficult situation because you wanted competition. You didn't want guys to just get starting jobs simply because they were the only ones available. And if there is any other injury, if there's any other uncertainty, this is going to definitely push the Mets back from where they would want to be and where they want to start this season and everything that they want to accomplish with that. So Jeremy Hefner has been a kind of a magic man with that. But anyway, that's that. So you've got Montas. Just basically think of him as just not going to be around for 2 months. You're not going to see him like in terms of the regular season 2 months. So April, May, and probably best case scenario here, end of May or beginning of June is probably the most likely. And that's assuming that there's no further aggravations of this injury or anything else that's going to go further back. Okay. Second article here. So let me close that. We're gonna go here to second article. Pete Alonso arrives at spring training. Yeah, I'm not gonna read the whole article. We'll just kind of hit some things on the field. Alonso grinned and smiled, bantering with teammates, reuniting with staffers. At one point, prominent Mets official glanced over and remarked, "It looks right, doesn't it?" I told him, "Man, that uniform looks good on you." Mendoza said, "Call it a happy reunion, if not quite a happy marriage." Excuse me. Early in the comments on Monday afternoon, Alonso spoke openly about his opt-out, calling the deal kind of a bridge that just got to the next contract. He believes having a qualifying offer attached to him hurt his market value, absolutely, but it also guaranteed pretty much that he was coming back to the Mets right from the very beginning. Alonso said that he likes the idea of signing a long-term deal with the Mets, even though one didn't materialize this winter. "I didn't have my best year last year," Alonso said, and I appreciate that. At least Alonso is willing to take responsibility and admit that, because it definitely is there. But he says, "But I feel like I pushed the market forward a little bit. For me, making 30 million as a first baseman this year, it's definitely an accomplishment for sure." And again, that's maybe true, but we also know that he did not receive what he was wanting to do. It'll just be interesting to see how everything plays out with this. A year and a half ago, Alonso reportedly turned down a $158 million extension. Asked if he regrets not signing a long-term deal earlier, Alonso replied, "I mean, I don't really regret it." And I don't know, that phrasing just sounds to me like he regrets it. I don't really regret it, but you do sort of regret it. Um, and he says, because for me, every single step of the way of my career, whether it's high school, college, minor leagues, even through 6 years in the majors, you bet on yourself every single year. And certainly that's true. And that the only thing that goes with betting on yourself is covered here as well as just on my other channel. I always talk about like it's great to bet on yourself, but sometimes you're going to bet on yourself and you're going to lose, and that's just going to be the nature of the beast. How that gamble plays out over the next 12 months remains to be seen. Even if Alonso has another season similar like in 2024, he'll probably be incentivized to opt out of the final year of his contract. I don't know if that would be the case. There is certainly insurance here if there's any sort of injury for Alonso that he's got, a contract next year. But I kind of wonder if Alonso is just kind of looking at this 2 years to have. He basically has 2 years to have one stellar year, and obviously he wants it to be this year. But I maybe he would opt out over a similar year, but I think he is really wanting to pad his stats and put up a great thing and really sign that long-term deal. So anyway, there will be lots of talk about Pete Alonso going into next off season, so we're not going to do too much on that because there will be plenty of time to cover that. But so Frankie Montas is out. He is completely shut down for 6 to 8 weeks. And most likely scenario, late May to early June that you would see him if there's no further setbacks. Pete Alonso is back at New York Mets camp, and it's good to have him back. It will be fun to see this lineup for this 1 year, but just as is always true with baseball, you never have the same team 2 years in a row because there are always players moving in, moving out, trades, acquisitions, and different things. So, a couple of questions. First of all, hit that like and that subscribe. We are on our way. We're almost to 100 subscribers. We are doing a giveaway as well. There's a pinned comment if you are watching this on live, and there is also a link down in the description below. Sign up. As soon as we get to 100 subs, we're going to do a drawing. I was looking tonight, and I believe the number is we have 3 people who've signed up for the drawing. We're giving away a Nick Madrigal rookie card. Now, Madrigal may or may not make the Mets roster, but he's in camp kind of auditioning for, as of right now, the role Jose Iglesias had last year. There's still rumblings and rumors that Iglesias wants to come back to the Mets, but Iglesias also wants a multi-year deal. And that's kind of maybe an issue here, because I don't know if the Mets are really wanting to do a multi-year deal for Iglesias, because they do have all this young infield talent. Now, if the Mets do make some sort of trade and 1 or 2 of these younger Mets players get traded away, then maybe you see them a little more likely to bring Iglesias back. But I kind of think that the Mets want to really give a shot to roll with an infield that's going to have as many of Beatty, Vientos, Mauricio, Acuna, as many of those 4 in play as possible. And if you can play 3 of those 4 most every day, maybe they all can crack the roster out of camp. If not, certainly 3 of them I would expect to see on the roster, unless something major happens. And so, anyway, we're giving away a Nick Madrigal rookie card, so you can sign up. All you need to do is sign up with an email address. You don't need to give me your mailing address unless you win. And once we get to the 100 subs, which is really, really close, we're, I believe, at 96 going into the stream tonight. So in the next day or 2, we're going to do a drawing whenever we hit that 100 subs. Maybe we'll even do a stream till we get to 100 subscribers and do that. And so, but we're going to give that card away, so you can sign up there. Just a way for me to give back to you guys. We're going to do drawings as we kind of climb the ladder of YouTube and reaching more and more people. We're going to just keep giving things away. I've mentioned back all of those boxes that you see there behind me. Those are all filled with sports cards, baseball, football cards. We're going to be giving lots of them away. And as the channel grows more and more, we're going to do that. And even if you don't win, you're going to get a discount code to the eBay store that I run. That's down in the description below. So super excited about that. All right. So one last update that is not New York Mets update, but it is just if you're a fan of maybe a future New York Met, tonight, my son, who is playing in AAA Little League, their team had a game. The game ended up tied 12-12, but that was not the highlight of the day. The highlight of the day is that my son got the game ball tonight. He went 0 for 0. So how do you get a game ball without getting any hits? Well, he had 3 walks, 7 stolen bases, and scored 3 runs for the team in a 12-12 tie, because it's Little League and there's time limits and stuff like that. So my son, the future New York Met, he got the game ball tonight. Again, 7 stolen bases is pretty impressive. So super excited about that. So congrats to him. And I guess you got to wait another 15 years or so to see him on the Mets, but we're doing that. So Frankie Montas is out. He is out 6 to 8 weeks, completely shut down. Most likely scenario, be back end of May, beginning of June, if there's no further setbacks. Pete Alonso is at camp. It feels kind of at home, but it also kind of feels like he's just temporarily moving in. So not sure on that. And my son got the game ball in his Little League game tonight. So that is your current and future New York Mets update. Appreciate each and every one of you, and have an awesome night.